Let's bring in Eric Mandel. He's the founder and director of the Middle East Political Information Network. Welcome to the program, Eric. Good to see you. So Israel has repeatedly raised concerns, hasn't it, about Qatar's role in Gaza. But is President Trump listening?
Well, the Emir, he's very smart. He knows that by personally going to greet Trump, bringing the prime minister, it's very appreciated. And it's the best path to influence him. So what does Qatar want out of this? They want to influence in Gaza. They want an Islamist presence in Gaza. They want to advocate for their ally, Turkey, another Muslim Brotherhood affiliate, to be there. And they want to marginalize the Saudis and the Qataris. Sorry, saying the Emiratis, excuse me. What the president should tell him is because Qatar has influence on Hamas, that without disarmament and demilitarization, he's going to give Israel the freedom of action that he gives it up until this point in Lebanon. We were talking about a Lebanon model. And the president should also say to him, you know, I think you guys want peace. You keep talking about peace. It's the best peace that there ever have been. So please stop Al Jazeera from its continued incitement, claiming persistent Israeli violations. Unfortunately, the administration either remains willfully blind or doesn't care what Qatar really is, the financier of the Muslim Brotherhood, and it chooses to prioritize the trade, the trillions in trade, that they believe gives them influence. So there's a lot of push and pull of what's going on here, but Qatar is in ascendancy right now, close with the president. It does not necessarily comport, to my mind, with what U.S. National security interests are, and certainly not with Israel's.
Is part of that role for Qatar related to the Saudis and their frustrations about the what they see far too slow progress when it comes to disarming Hamas, and they're holding on to their money? They're saying they won't invest in Gaza unless Hamas is fully disarmed. Doesn't that necessitate a bigger role for Qatar in that they are going to have to stump up a bigger share of the cash?
Well, I think America should take a step back and say, who are our friends here? And I think our best friends should be the Saudis and the Emiratis. You look at the Emiratis, what they've done with their textbooks. And the Qataris have, again, too much influence, and there's a blindness to them. So why are the Saudis and the Emiratis upset? And by the way, the Saudis and Emiratis don't necessarily go hand in hand. They each have their own interests. And I think a big part is that the Saudis see it that Qatar has been made the regional power that is here. And when MBS comes and visits President Trump in the United States, the president's going to try to have to persuade him, no, we haven't given up your interests. But the MBS is already threatening to pull out, as you said, of Gaza reconstruction aid. But we really need the Emiratis and the Saudis to be the ones going into Syria, going into Lebanon, going into Gaza, the ones who have influence, the moderate Arab countries who don't want Islamism, and we should be wanting to minimize Qatari influence. The president seems, unfortunately, to be putting the Qataris ahead of everyone else, and that changes the regional balance of power that's going on here, and it is not healthy for American interests to put Qatar at such an elevated place on the pedestal.
Well, what are your expectations, Eric, for that visit by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia when he visits Washington next month? Do you think he'll be able to pull President Trump back to his side? Do you think Riyadh might be hosting summits on Gaza rather than Egypt? Do you think he'll be able to pull him away from the Qataris?
I think, listen, President Trump had the opportunity in his first term to really send the Qataris, when there was the embargo of the Saudis, the Emiratis, Bahrainis, Egypt, against the Qataris, and that went away. So at this point, the Qataris, he's not going to minimize them. So the Qataris are going to come with their own list of things that they want. They want a security deal like the president gave the Qataris. And they do want to minimize Qatari influence. The Saudis correctly will claim that Qatar is going to work to create Hamas to remain in power, or some Islamist entity to remain in power in Gaza. And that is what destabilizes these moderate Gulf countries. And I think my country, to a certain extent, has forgotten about that. And I think the president thinks he can get them all on board, all through trade. But I think he has to realize there's an ideology behind this that really has the Qataris versus the Emiratis versus the Saudis. all in opposition to one another and balancing it. Trump may be the one to do it temporarily, but right now it's the time to elevate the Saudis and time to elevate the Emiratis and use those as the models to de-radicalize Gaza.
Eric, great to talk to you as always. Thank you so much. Eric Mandel there.